Oh, Caesar produced the gifts.
All right, we are fucking live. Welcome back to the Ronin Radio, ladies and gentlemen. people in the chat. My name is Gunlock, and joining me as always is my lovely co-host, the bearded
Hello.
man from France,
I
Mr.
actually
Stark.
I just shaved my beard. It was massive. So now when you say bearded, I went like, oh no, there's nothing left. But yeah.
I am a
Yeah.
bald beard man.
No, it's okay. I think I think there's way more bald men in the crypto space than me, so I'm safe for now.
Goes by the name of Rare Axis.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Nowadays, he just calls himself Rare.
yeah, there's a lot of bald men in these parts.
I wonder why. Probably because of the crypto market going
Yeah.
fucking.
The stress and losing money, you pull all your fucking hair out. That was the joke. Great.
All right, and tonight
yeah.
we have a show, and I have genuinely been looking forward to this one. Quick stat. All right, I'm just gonna do a quick recall of what happened the last couple of weeks, right, or probably a month now. Caledon had a report, or there was a Caledon report, and that states 93% of Web3 games are effectively dead. Not struggling, Mr. Stark. They are dead.
Finito.
But tonight we're talking to the co-founder of one that is not, and from stats itself, over 75,000 paid users, at least $5 million in annual revenue, likely more by now, a lot more. And 9 million in peer-to-peer marketplace volume, and there's a $20 entry fee
Yes.
that everyone said was a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But what's
We'll
your
get
take on that one?
We'll get into all of that. I think there's so first of all, people might be saying, wait, why are you featuring? Because this game is on Abstract, okay? It started off as an NFT collection with a Discord, and then they built from there.
Yeah.
It seems like in that report with those 93% of failed projects, it seems like all of those are also the ones that raise the most money, and then somehow all the scrappers, all the grinders are the ones that are still here, that came from practically nothing. And we have a fantastic story with the guy with the founder that we're having on today. And you might ask yourself, well, why do you have an abstract game on Ronin Radio? Well, first of all, we do whatever the fuck we want, so
Nobody tells us what to do.
yeah, the 5 people left in Web3 gaming can't tell us what to do. But also, it's about more than that. It's about, these are very tough times for crypto gaming, for Web3 gaming, and we need to like, we need all the help we can get, basically. And any at this stage, and I think even before, but any game that breaks out, any game that succeeds, whatever the chain it's on, will be good. Like, it'll be much needed relief for the industry. So that's point one. And point two is that it's me personally, why we wanted to feature this game was also to start looking a bit outside of Ronin, because there's for lessons for different games, etc. There's not that many games left in Ronin, even though I think Ronin has a fantastic community and a lot of decent projects still chugging along. And so we're gonna have a great chat today. And for all our viewers that are us usually covering Ronin games, it's gonna be be prepared for like some interesting lessons, some interesting, wouldn't say lessons, but just learned lessons, I guess, from our guest Dith.
Exactly.
So without further ado, sorry.
Sorry, I actually had another reason, Mr. Stark, in the bag.
Okay.
We're bringing this to the Ronin audience specifically because I am not sure if everyone is aware, but Jiho, co-founder of Sky Mavis, actually is one of the investors of this game. So, and tonight we're going to find out how deep the Gigaverse and Ronin relationship could go. We're going to be exploring that one.
Absolutely.
And let's go ahead and bring Mr. Deeth. I'm not sure how to pronounce it yet. We will find out, to the stage. How are you, sir?
Yo, boys. How are you guys?
Yeah.
Love that energy start, by the way.
I could tell by your chuckle that you did.
Yeah. But thanks for having us on, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
To see you. Yeah.
Welcome. So
to be here.
without further ado, give us like the elevator pitch for like a 60-second elevator pitch for a viewer out there who is on Ronin and has either just basically only at best heard the name Gigaverse, nothing else. Give us the pitch or like the rundown.
Yeah, so the concept of Gigaverse is essentially it's on-chain Disneyland, right? It's a game of games. You come into the game and there's like lots of different things that you can do. There's different game modes, different gameplay styles. Some are, sort of solo PvE. Some are PvP. Some are like maybe some sort of hybrid, different sort of levels of risk tolerance. Some like modes are completely free. They just kind of cost your in-game energy to enter. Other modes, you may need to kind of put something at risk, like it may be like PvP for stakes, like this new racing game that we have. It's actually, you have both options. You can race for free or you can race for stakes. And we keep like rolling out new game modes as we go, right? I think at this point we have 4 or 5 that are live, a couple more in the works. And so, the vision there, like players, like you level up your character, you customize, and the vision there is to just build like a really fun environment you can spend a lot of time in. You can do things with or against your friends. And then this is all wrapped in a very nostalgic sort of form factor, right? Where the game is like, it will take you back in time to like this golden age, like the 90s of gaming, where, the gameplay itself, the crunchiness, the juice of moments and button clicks, etc., like all need to really matter. And, to your point of why we've seen like a lot of other studios close and where they struggle and the rest is like, yeah, we now know definitively one of the most common failure modes is this like, this AAA MMO metaverse that takes 5, you need to raise $50 million for and takes 5 years to produce, and you sit in a black box until the players see anything whatsoever.
And the $50 million are burnt in 2 years.
yeah. Like I think at this point, like let's just let's please not do that anymore. Let's find like
it's sad at which point it's become a joke, but it's sad.
Yeah, let's find brand new ways to fail. That will be a lot more fun and interesting, right? But I mean, so what we've deferred to is like we're essentially like kind of running as a team now these kind of 2 races where one is we like to ship new content frequently. So like every few weeks there may be like small quality of life updates, balance changes or whatever. Then every sort of like couple of months, let's say, a new game mode goes live. But in the same time, we're like working on these like bigger, longer term systems to just build like a thriving game world and game economy. So we've been doing like internally both like a sprint and a marathon at the same time, building these 2 tracks, making sure that we keep shipping new stuff while we work on this bigger version of the game. So that's where we're at. We've been live for over a year now. I think it's like a year and 2 or 3 months, having a ton of fun. We've got an amazing community, and looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, us too. And before we get a bit more into your background, I have one question right off the bat. When you mentioned a digital Disneyland, or I forgot the exact turn of phrase you used. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Like specifically, what comes to mind for me is like plans that you have around that, like different IPs, or why are you using the word Disneyland?
Yeah, I mean, a great question. I mean, so I've used Disneyland actually from the outset, just from everyone understands what that day looks like, right? You turn up to Disneyland with your family and friends, and there's like a ton of different rides, and some of the rides you really love and you want to like go on like 7 times in a row, and then others, it's a roller coaster. I'm scared of heights, or roller coasters make me throw up. They're just not my thing. But essentially, you give players like a lot of choice. Actually, there's an ideal world, Disneyland, like part of what makes it work is that there's too much to do, right? Which is why you can spend the whole day there and you don't cover it all.
Yeah.
And so that's actually like where we intend to take the game, that like there's actually so much to do that like players there's this kind of coordination thing and a reason that you need to be in a guild and you have to make these choices and trade-offs. Like I can't specialize in everything. I don't actually have enough energy or time or skill to like be the best at everything. So it works in that way. But I'm glad you mentioned IP, because really over the last 6 months, this has been like the next massive arc we've been working on, where a question we asked ourselves when we started this sort of like IP arc 6 months ago is like, do we have a compelling enough story and set of characters and an internal like skill set for anyone to care about the world that we're building and the characters that we've designed and who they are, what they stand for, and the rest? Let's give it a shot. We set out to answer this question live with real data. So we launched net new channels. We started a YouTube from scratch. We started a TikTok from scratch. Instagram. I mean, we're now on all these channels, right? Snapchat, even bloody like Pinterest, right? Like, why not? Start these channels from scratch, introduce our characters, character first, right? Like before you get to know anything about the world or the game, or there's any sort of like call to action for the audience, it's like, let's just introduce the character, tell their story, have them express themselves. And this has just been like a runaway success. Like at this point, we have the largest YouTube channel for any like Web3 native character IP. We crossed 1 million subs. I mean, all of our channels are growing really, really fast. I think in aggregate now, we're like 1.7, probably over 1.7 million subs across all these channels. I think the only other like there's like only 1 or 2 other like Web3 native IPs that have a larger count than us, but they've been doing this for years. And in some cases,
and I don't think any of them have that like. A lot of them are very big on TikTok, etc. I think it's rare that you guys almost have 10 times more subs on YouTube than they do on TikTok.
Yeah, and very intentional, by the way. Like, you know, TikTok's cool, and I mean, every platform has its strengths, but like YouTube is really where the next great generation of IPs are born, right? We're seeing this right now in real time. This is the zeitgeist. You can scroll Twitter and you can see so many like sort of thought boys with their like threads about like how, like, you know, all the next best character franchises are born on YouTube. I mean, that was like a bet that we made a while ago. Now the world is catching on to that. Like long-term, big picture, what are you most bullish on? It has to be YouTube, right? It's part of, you know, just given everything else Google has going for it. So we're very glad that YouTube is the channel that we kind of like lead on.
Yeah, I feel like when I first saw that, I was talking with Harambe, a member of your team, and I was just saying, like, I think a lot of people like virality. It seems to be comes quicker or easier, so to speak, on TikTok. But a lot of the times people influencers try to use TikTok to then funnel onto other, because TikTok pays so little compared to any other platform. It's usually used as a bouncing board, or like a bouncing, I'm thinking of the word in French, sorry. But yeah, they use it to then funnel some people towards the YouTube and hope that 1/10 of them go onto YouTube. So you guys have like some managed to do that without.
I love the stuff that you're putting out on the socials. I'm looking at this right now while we're scrolling. The numbers, 100. Yeah. There are like videos that you got, or there are shorts that are like 15 million views.
Yeah, the top one has 35 million.
That's crazy, and it's not even, or the content that you're putting out is not even somewhat like gaming related. It's more
or
even
crypto related, right? So
yeah,
so
really smart.
Well, firstly, we're still experimenting, right? Like at this point, we've learned a lot, but there's more to learn still. I think we're like 75 videos in. So it's still like really important that we keep experimenting. Like we had a crazy month last month where like a few things really clicked. Now we're like trying a few new things as well. Like I think we're going to go through like a bunch of iteration cycles and like just sort of like, you know, these sort of like, you know, I think I can totally see like months in our future where we have these like periods of hyper growth. Like last month, as I say, we grew like I think 300,000 subs in 1 month. So that's super exciting. And every time we experiment and we learn from that, we refine the strategy. The second thing is 100%. Like it's very intentional that we're at this point we're trying to build. We're distribution maxis, right? We're a distribution first company, so we need to build the biggest top of funnel possible that we can. And like ultimately, you need to build the biggest company and ecosystem you can, right? Like if you try to take shortcuts or you try to force a fit, like, hey, I'm going to find random like normies on YouTube and like try to bring them into like, you know, what is today a pretty niche like browser like crypto RPG game. Like that's not going to be a great funnel, right? So we got to play the long game. We got to build the funnel right, and this stuff takes time, but fundamentally, from a first principles perspective, the top of funnel that you have needs to be as big and as wide and as appealing as possible. And if we get like a ton of eyeballs, then we can bring people down into a mid of funnel. TBD what that is. Like we haven't painted the full picture for our community yet of what goes into that mid of funnel. And then I would see like this, you know, the current sort of like browser crypto game, peer-to-peer sort of trading and all these sort of like live economy and so on. This is probably like at the very bottom of the funnel, right? Just in terms of like where and how we eventually bring people to it. We can't skip from like the sort of like mass market appeal content we have on YouTube straight into the game. We've got to bring people down into the funnel across the surface area of like apps, games, and products. And then this, the current game as it stands in its current form is probably bottom of funnel.
Yeah. So now that we have a decent view of, or like a view of your vision, let's zoom out a bit, and you tell us a bit about like the start of your Web3 journey and the start of this whole project.
So, the beginning stuff, I've been in crypto full time, I think like sort of 3.5, maybe going on 4 years now. Done a whole bunch of things in the past, spent most of my life as a startup founder, worked in completely different parts of tech. My last sort of like, let's say real or proper job before moving into crypto was at a payments company called Stripe, which ironically like really pulled me on crypto. Then I left them to join like one of these like well-funded Web3 game studios. That's kind of how I like really kind of cut my teeth in the space, met a ton of people, led go to market there. And then, like my co-founder and I, we launched GIGAVERSE. I think we went live like late February of last year. And at the time, we were working other jobs, and we didn't, there was no like sweaty business plan. There was no structure. There was no company in place. This was like first and foremost, like just something that we love to do. It was like a passion project, really. And then the response was like amazing from the outset. And so like within a couple of weeks, we had quit our jobs and decided to go full-time on GIGAVERSE. So very, very organic starts. The community also formed organically. Like I think you pointed out, clearly kind of done your homework, that before any of that, I had launched this like PFP collection, which was this like sort of like, art first, just wanted to like make the best possible like gaming pixel PFP collection. There's like no roadmap. It was like literally just like maybe like 10 or 20 people hanging out in our Discord.
Was that in 2021?
No. Completely missed that. I wish we launched in the, because I mean, essentially they're not just from a volume and I think revenue perspective. And yes, like all those collections, like, if you launched a good collection back then, you printed, sure. But I think even
if you launched a bad collection, you printed.
Even if you launched a bad collection, no, but it's more from a perspective of like, it's actually amazing that there was like a cohort of like NFT traders and collectors from that like 2021 vintage who've largely just really stayed around those collections, right? Like if you look at the ones that are still going, like people who love Bored Apes and Pudgy and Azuki and so on, like they kind of made their bet, right? They kind of like aligned, and now they have their like forever PFP. And those guys are, at this point, they have like large Twitter followings. They have a bunch of stuff going. They have like good on-chain net worth and so on. So it really was like this golden age where if you launched a collection, you were good and you weren't like a moron and you weren't a rugger and you just stayed alive. Like, there's this kind of like moat that they built up, and it was definitely like the golden age for NFTs. I think the silver lining for anyone that's come afterwards, like us, we launched, GLHF, the collection launched in early 2024, right?
Wow.
So at that point, NFT volume and interest was already like just a shadow of its former self, right?
Yeah.
Silver lining there is like it's a forcing factor for you to like do something cool, new, or interesting, or different, or really the community that you build are like the last remaining true believers who are still like kind of making a bet, like still looking for like cool new things and making that bet. And I think that's what we have at our core. And we did a number of like novel things with the collection itself, right? We have this like cool mechanic where there's still about 100 NFTs left to be minted, but they get slow minted over time via auction. They're all one of ones. And then
that's the auctioneer, right?
That's the auctioneer.
In the game.
Yeah. And then any of the funds raised by the auctioneer from the auctions are used to like buy and burn the floor of the collection, right? Which is essentially, it's the hyperliquid model, right? You raise money from auctions, and you take that money, and that like buys back your own token or your own NFTs. So, I like to say, I think I came up with this actually, but I think, this is the view of the, you can summarize it, say like hyperliquid of NFTs, right? It's like maybe a neat way of summarizing that. So yeah, as I say, the silver lining there is forcing function for us to do cool new things. And I think we have, as much as possible, you got to try to like differentiate or die, basically, right?
Absolutely. Not enough teams do that. Most of the space is actually like it's actually for a technology that's on so much on the cutting edge. There's very little innovation because everybody's just copying the last thing that
Copy
broke out.
paste. Yeah.
You know, there's very few teams that that's just, but I guess that's also how like an open free market works, right? It's like if you open in town a shop or a kind of restaurant and you're busy, then other people copy. The innovators are rare, but I think we need. I'm pretty disappointed with the lack of innovation in Web3 gaming. I mean, I think a lot of people are, but yeah. So especially you guys build a bit in the open, right? How would you characterize your building? Like, is it building in public, or how do you?
Yeah, it's a bit of both.
How much do you share with the community?
It's a bit of both. Like we like to tell stories and share like the thought process and publish stats and the rest. At the same time, like at this point, like we have a live game, we have a live economy. We try to be quite thoughtful with like not revealing things before they're like fully baked, because details change. Like, there's a few like worst case scenarios or failure modes there. Like you publish details in advance that then by the time you ship the thing, they've changed. Maybe someone has already gone to the market, bought up certain items. Now they're pissed and so on. So we try to strike a balance between like sharing stuff in advance or doing retros and publishing stats versus like not communicating things before they're fully baked. We also like really believe in the like. I personally, I spend a lot of time, like I've skin in the game. I trade a bunch of things. I always mention Hyperliquid as like one of the coins I've talked about most over the last like year and a half. It's like one of my favorites. And I think like being able to like surprise and delight to the upside, like not everything is priced in, and that you can like drop really bullish, awesome, like could be a product update, could be a partnership, could be some sort of other announcement without people seeing it coming, without it being priced in. It's really fun for the community. It's a great way of like reigniting. I mean, essentially, as a builder, you got to like evaluate the options in your tool set, and if you're trying to like capture attention or surprise people or prove people wrong, then
reward your sometimes also reward your loyal base. But you need to balance it all, because otherwise you get the group gets too closed in, right? If you're just dropping alpha and then it's just your community farming the newcomers or the people who are less active. You need to strike a balance, because you want your core to be rewarded for believing in you, but you also want some growth with all that all these
new people coming in.
Yeah.
Plus it like, the frame of mind people are in, and the like competition for attention and like all of these things, like the stage of like the market cycle plays a factor here as well. Like it's just interesting right now, like obviously in the depths of the bear, like CT feels like you're seeing so many people, like CT is dead. No one's here.
Yeah.
The algo has changed as well.
Yeah. It's AI Twitter now. It's not crypto Twitter.
So these are all factors. I think like there's we definitely don't have like one size fits all or like just one track that we try to work with. I think generally we probably skew to try to sharing more. I mean, actually sometimes it's funny. Like in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot that we've wanted to. We've actually just been so busy that like the team actually that puts out comms or like working on other things, and so sometimes it's also like just a bandwidth challenge, which I think is like a great problem to have.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of games or a lot of projects are having this problem in 2026. Very
good problem to have. So we're constantly trying to get it right. Like I think there's times that we do very well, and there's other times that we're probably like a bit too quiet, or we just haven't calibrated it completely right. But it's like a constant like balancing act, I think.
One thing I wanted to talk about, this famous $20 entry fee. So for those of you who don't know, if you go onto Gigaverse, by the way, you can't use your Ronin chain or the Ronin token, but you can log in with the Ronin wallet as an EVM wallet. But for now you need to use Abstract, right? You need some ETH on Abstract, WETH on Abstract. But you need $20 to mint the character to play. So like you can't play for free, right? And this has been a choice since the very start. You said you launched a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Has that been the case since then?
It's
since the start.
I mean, I think we say $20 like shorthand, or that's like the fiat equivalent. If you join the game. Like you can pay using Stripe. It is $20, but the price is 0.005 in Ethereum, which now based on the price of Ethereum is far less, right?
I did that earlier. I was like, $20 was not. Yeah, it's 8.
Yeah, it's $8. Yeah, so that's just like.
But it's $20 if people use
Ethereum is that right now.
or Apple Pay or whatever, right?
Yeah, we kept it at $20 there. So I think, first and foremost, like, as I say, we launched the game. This was we simply needed some sort of like basic sort of monetization model, right? So this, like, first and foremost was like our very simple way of monetizing the game at the outset. But I think really the extension of that thought was like, okay, well, how can we validate that? We are adding friction here. Maybe it makes it harder to like grow the player base, to grow the community. But then, like, as we started thinking about it, we're like, oh, well, actually, this probably means we have like a smaller but higher quality community, right? Like we'll have players who have some skin in the game. And we've seen that. Like, I think, the challenge for anyone building in this ecosystem, as you know, is that like once you're 6 or 9 or 12 months old, you're no longer the belle of the ball. You're no longer like the hot, new, shiny game. There's always like something like newer and exciting that enjoys that like initial honeymoon period gets launched, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, because we launched this like high quality community, like our retention is, I think we probably have the best retention stats in the ecosystem. At this point, across all cohorts, the lowest I've ever seen our D7 is about 75%. Wow. Some of our D7, some of our cohorts have a D7 retention rate of like 85, 90%, which is unreal. Yeah. So we're building maybe I don't even think it's necessarily smaller, but it's definitely like a higher quality user base. Yeah. And again, I think this is like just really important for like the big picture long term of what we're trying to do.
When, like, you're talking about these internal discussions you had where you were like, the discussions you're describing basically, do you remember approximately when this was? Must have been like then a year and a half ago, 2 years at least, right? That you were discussing this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
right? So I asked the question because I think people might say it's obvious that you want a higher quality community, that you need blah 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 blah. But let's all remember what the meta was. I think these are one of the things that stuck out at me that really made me want to have you guys on the show as well. We're not just like, for me, we're presenting a high quality project to our viewers, but it's for reasons like that, in the sense that we have to remember that 2 years ago, the meta was, as meant, like, pump the numbers up. Every game, every VC, everything wanted high numbers, high everything. And so you must have had, I think you're the one who also says that people call you crazy for that, right?
Yeah,
nobody else was doing it.
I got an example for you, because I know Jiho, like Jiho, by the way, grew up as like a military history strategist nerd, and also love Japanese culture and history, right? One of the greatest samurai of all time, right? Miyamoto Musashi, at some point was called in to help like a feudal like chief in Japan select a personal bodyguard samurai, and there was a lineup of like eight experienced samurai to like pick for the role, and Musashi was called in to like help pick the guy. He chose a guy in the lineup based on like he like looked at the guy, or he was asking him questions, and he picked a guy in the lineup and he said, "This is your man." And the feudal chief was like, "Okay, fine. Like, I trust your judgment, but why this guy? He's like, he actually wasn't my first choice. He's actually not the most experienced guy in the lineup." And the rest. And they spoke to him, and what this guy was doing was he was sleeping every night with a katana suspended from the ceiling above his head, right? And essentially, he was like conditioning himself to this, like, thinking that he could die at any point. He was prepared to die. So the guy had a level of fearlessness, or like willingness to kind of operate at the highest stakes or take the kind of risks that like gave him this so this is why Musashi selected him for the role, right? There was like a level of fearlessness there. And I think from the outset, part of if you want to be different, if you want to win, you got to be prepared to fail. You got to be prepared to look like an ass or do things that don't work. I think part of why you don't see enough innovation, everything converges and looks the damn same, and everyone's running the same playbook, is like, because people are pattern matching. Oh, we know for sure this works, so let's do the same damn thing over and over and over. Yeah. And I think I think it was just really important, right? If you want differentiate or die, be willing, and that means that you've got to be willing to take risks and make some decisions that are just different, may not work. And if it doesn't work, like, yeah, great, you learn the lesson, you pivot, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be as dramatic as like a katana, suspended above your head that's going to like drive through your skull at any given point in time. It doesn't have to be. There's a lot of things that you can do that are not actually trapdoor decisions, that you can like completely like pivot or reverse or iterate from. And I'd actually like us to do more stuff like that, right? I'd like us to take even bigger risks. But take the social stuff is a great example of that, right? We decided to put time and effort towards that at a point where this had never been done before, and it could have been a complete waste of time. And in fact, the first 2 months, it did look like that. The first 2 months, we didn't see shit. There was no traction. There were no numbers. No one was talking about this. And then all of a sudden, it starts working, and you don't look crazy anymore.
Yeah, it's what's that expression they say? You seem crazy until you're a genius or something like that. It's that, I know that's not how it's worded, but yeah.
Until you see the 1 million views on your videos.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question for that. Do you worry that as you grow, since you like that, like basically it's harder to be this scrappy and this risk-taking the bigger you grow? Do you worry about that?
100%. That's a it's like
it's just a dynamic. A good worry to have, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like a dynamic that plays out, right? All of a sudden, when you feel like, okay, now that there's a the stakes have been raised, there's like a higher baseline. It's just very, very, very important that you don't become. I mean, like, you got to recognize, like, the edge a startup has is its like agility, and like that it can turn on a dime, and that it can like decide. And we do this actually. I think this is part of why, like, there's sometimes like we'll take longer than expected on a certain thing, or we'll like just change like priorities. Like, it's 100% because like internally we've just been like, okay, that doesn't make sense to like focus on anymore. Let's do this other thing. So being like agile and not like succumbing to like, oh, we have like, we're stuck with this, or we need to play it safe or whatever, is just so important. But it's a constant effort to like, you gotta like check yourself, right, and make sure that you're like, what's the actual like driving factor behind this decision, and are we now like either slowing down or playing it safe? I think as time goes on, that's just like a typical syndrome of like companies and teams. Right. So it's like, yeah, it's almost like a daily thing that you need to check yourself there.
Yeah. So as a Ronin and Axie Maxi, then my suggestion is to make sure that maybe if you work on some what's the word? Interoperability or integration with Ronin?
Collaboration.
Or collaboration. That would be my suggestion, to do that while you're still in your very agile state, so it comes quickly. Because I know, myself included, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that when they have their chain, and they're not very few people are chain agnostic, right? They have there's the bag biases, everything like that. So I think a lot of Ronin people would play Gigaverse if there was like more direct integration. So is that something you're looking at, whether it's with Ronin or with other chains? Totally.
I mean, actually, I see it as fundamental. The example that I use, and look, always loved Ethereum, the ecosystem. I mean, I'm also like an optimist in general. Like, I see good in everyone. So even outside of the Ethereum ecosystem, you look at even other L1s, right? There's always there's always something good everywhere, right? Pockets of like talented people and great community and liquidity, volume, attention, But I think specifically, like, obviously, first and foremost, like having started our life as a game and as gamers, and knowing people in the space, and knowing and liking team members over there like Jiho a great deal. I think like where it's so important is on two fronts. You look at where there's kind of like a community to product or community to game fit, like PMF, and then secondly, like I think the analogy in my mind for like the Ethereum ecosystem is a bit like Europe, right? And so you got to make it really easy. Like even though there's like a lot in common between like France, Germany, Spain, Italy, and they all share a currency, and the rest, they do kind of speak like, they do have different languages. They do have different, like, they eat lunch at slightly different times. They all they'll have slightly different like tastes and preferences, and maybe some like different local laws and stuff. You as a game have to make it like really, really easy for people to come and play and enjoy your product from anywhere and everywhere. So that's actually been like a really important like part of our design thinking. And we published an article a couple months ago about this like our like approach to our game currency, right, called Gigabit. It was designed from the ground up to make it very easy for us to for us to make Gigaverse accessible, playable, and welcoming to players from an ecosystem like Ronin. And so it's kind of been like a long time coming. We want to make it as easy as possible for players from great communities like Ronin to come into Gigaverse. And we've had to do the work on our side to make it easy from a UX perspective to enable that.
Yeah, well, that's
I
exciting.
think the experience from that you had working with Stripe back in the day also is playing into how you're shaping that part. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Oh, totally. Like, the great thing about when you have perspectives at other companies like that, like, so for example, one of the things that I saw at Stripe was there's hard data actually saying that, like, okay, if you're an e-commerce site, right, where you just want as many people as possible to like put stuff in their cart, and then when the cart is full, they go to checkout and they complete checkout, and the payment goes through, right, and now they're like they bought their goods and they're waiting for them to arrive. Like, allowing more, generally the correlation is the more payment methods you offer, the higher likelihood of conversion. It's that simple. Like, if you offer people the option to use the currency or the payment mode, the credit card or
that they prefer,
the card or whatever that they have and that they prefer to use, guess what? It's like more likely that they click the buttons and they complete that. If you force someone to be like, no, you can't use your preferred payment method, guess what? So yeah, I mean, like,
it's so basic, but it sounds like it could be clipped and given as like very big advice to every game, like as if it was groundbreaking stuff when it's like so basic.
It is. I think the reason that we don't see it is, I mean, even we have this challenge in that there's so much that you want to do. The real battle is for prioritization, right? The real battle is always figuring out what's the right sequence to do things in.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, if we all had infinite resources, we'd do all of this stuff all at once. So the sequencing part, I think there's a lot of teams who, like the good teams who are still around, I think are clued in here. I like to think, and then it's just the real challenge is like resourcing and prioritization.
Yeah, which and those two are tied together, because the prioritization is not just what's more important, but it's what's more important weighted with how much that costs, whether it's time or money. So both are intrinsically tied, and I think sometimes people don't always grasp that when they're like giving feedback. Let's say, I was going to say complaining, but let's say giving constructive feedback to a game that they're in or a project that they're in. If you need to think also about like why, at least ask maybe why isn't this being implemented? Is it because sometimes it could seem small, but it could be, like, have you ever thought about if you're in a game that you play a lot in crypto or whatever, and there's this little bug that's always there, and when I ask about it, they're like, oh, we know it annoys us, but it would require like 2 weeks of overhaul.
I mean,
so I'm going to push a bit more on this. Like, do you have some sort of time window in mind where Ronin people will be able to just use the Ronin wallet on the Ronin chain and like mint their mint their noob?
So the most important, like, we're heads down right now on, I think short term is this first thing, which is like we got to kind of get the groundwork in place. So we're like doing some work on our in-game marketplace right now. We launched Gigabit a few months ago. It works in parts of the game, but it's pretty limited. So we got to actually get this working like throughout, what will allow this dream state where I want a player from Ronin to be able to trade with a player on Abstract. Wow. Right, back and forth. Neither of them never needs to bridge. You don't even need to know where the other player is on a chain, right? It shouldn't actually even matter. You want one marketplace experience between chains. In fact, going further, like, we actually designed this to be cross-platform as well. Like, I want to make sure that if I have a player, Ronin player who's in browser, if later we have a desktop version, let's say we distribute Gigaverse via Steam, or maybe there's a mobile game where you can also access the same marketplace. it needs to work cross-platform as well, not just cross-chain. So it's cross-chain and cross-platform. So first things first, we're doing work on the marketplace to enable Gigabit, and also just to like up-level it generally. Like this was also like kind of one of the innovations we launched, which is kind of crazy that, you know, we launched our marketplace in the game itself, where you can trade every item that you receive in the game. But yeah, back then, like not everyone was doing this. It was kind of seen as like this, like, wow. I mean, again, an obvious thing that you should like no brainer to do it. The problem is, like, you know, if you build a game in Unity, which is great for mobile, it's just like a great platform to build a game in. It's very clunky from a Web3 UX UI perspective. Like prices don't automatically update. You have to like manually refresh and shit. So we're actually, from a tech platform perspective, making some updates there as well. And then I think the other big thing happening is like we're working on, as I mentioned, right, Gigaverse is like a Disneyland type experience. We're essentially like working to open like a new part of the park, basically, right? Like this next version of the game. And we're still a few months out from that.
Would the new part of the park have external IP, for example?
It could do. It could do. I mean, it could.
The one in my shirt.
I don't know if
I
you
don't
get
know.
I don't know if you see what I'm getting at. No, but
I
think
these are, we've seen some great examples, right? To be fair, I think we've seen some other really cool live examples of folks doing things like this. So I mean, yes to all that. But I think, yeah, look, short term we have it.
Did you see On-Chain Heroes with their collaboration with Axie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Super cool.
So maybe a Gigaverse mini game with Axies. Who knows?
I mean, like we actually had it's funny. Like we've had some of these early explorations with like some of the biggest games companies in the world, and like a lot of the games that we've designed, the actual form factor, like the dungeons, like a dungeon can very easily be themed in someone else's IP, and to put like a setting or a map that's like well known, and to have enemies who are like from that world. These things can move slow when you deal with like Web 2 companies.
Ooh, okay, so hear me out. Have a dungeon where we're playing Axies and something like that, and all the enemies are all the rug pulls there was on Ronin, all the NFTs. So we're just hacking away at the projects that stole our money. I'm telling you.
Every time I see one of those rug pulls, man, it's like, it always comes up at a time that you're like knee deep in like other stuff, but you're always like heartbroken for like the community left holding the bag, right? And there's always this like cool moment in time where if you can in a day or two just like have something for them to like engage with, you know, as it could be like a cool experience like that. It could be, you know, one thing or another.
Whack a rug.
A big communal raid boss, and everybody on that side.
So we to be ready in time, we'd have to predict who's going down, so we can like prepare the art and shit in advance.
Well, I mean, here, thankfully, because I'm manifesting shit by being this forward, but thankfully, if you do a collaboration with Ronin and with Axie, there's a big backlog, so you don't. I think. There's a solid.
We have a list. We'll send you the list.
Yeah, we have a list.
Yeah,
and we'll order it. We'll order it by animosity felt by the community.
I mean, it's I think as you say, right? Like, there's the list is like long and distinguished at this point. Throughout, and to just like finally answer the question, like, so we want to get there as soon as we can. We just, you know, coming back to this like prioritization and resourcing thing, like we have at least like a couple months of like stuff we got to do first.
Okay.
But we want to get there. We're excited to get there. We already have, I think, you know, we're lucky to have like some folks from the Ronin community, Ronin players, like just even with the current friction where they, you know, kind of need to come over and use the systems that they currently are doing it, and that's awesome. So we do want to make it as easy as possible.
That sounds fantastic, and we'll be following, and who knows, maybe have you guys on the show again as those things
when it comes.
So
we'd love that.
It's not if it comes, when it comes. So let's talk about those Ronin players or that have like I minted a noob yesterday, and I've been walking around fishing and stuff like that.
Awesome.
What so you're here also today to talk about something that's launching or that has launched, like the giggling racing.
Yep.
But let's talk about that. Let's also talk about like what a new coming player who's in the next 2 months before there's more integration, who's going like past that friction. What should they look into? And so let's talk about all that. Let's talk about the giggling racing first, if you want. That's the new game mode, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I think, or maybe I'll do it the other way around. Like if you come into Gigaverse now, like I would encourage you to like basically try everything, click every button, see which game modes that you prefer. Community is super active and helpful. So like hop into the Discord. Yeah, so just get a feel for everything.
Let's keep it simple. How many experiences can one new player jump into when he gets into Gigaverse? Like, how many experiences can I have
That are live right now.
that are live right now?
So the two like main long-term like game modes we've had are dungeons and fishing from a gameplay perspective. But then you also have people who are they're kind of playing. There's like some meta games, I would say, in the item economy. There's like now people are like hatching. They get food from fishing with the
Fishing?
food. Yeah, so from fishing, you know you can use the fish that you catch to you can turn that into food for gigglings. You feed gigglings. The gigglings give you like dung and butterflies. You can hatch eggs, which is kind of like a gacha mechanic. So there's these meta games, and then there's like live ops events. Since the start of the year, I think we've done like 3 or 4 events. We want to do more. We actually built like an event CMS to like run more events. I think the next one we're going to do is like racing now that it's live. We have some game modes that are like event driven only. So we have Conquest, which is like if you want to play like kind of a team-based coordination co-op style, like a Risk style game, you know, Risk the board game. Conquest only goes live in events itself. And then we have like racing. Racing is the latest mode. We took kind of an opinionated view on this. Like we have this collection, which are gigglings, essentially like these 2-legged horses. So you're going to need to own one of those NFTs to participate in racing, at least as it stands right now. And then if you have a giggling, I mean, the NFTs are like, I think $8. So you can buy a giggling, you can participate in races. The races are either free or with stakes. We're heavily inspired by like the kind of like Japanese, like the 90s Japanese arcade like Derby sims, where you know there's kind of a couple things. Like firstly, the race itself is exciting to watch it play out. You can use items during the race to like boost yourself or sabotage your enemies. But there's like kind of there's games within the game, right? You're trying to discover what your giggling is good at. You can only do that by racing it. The more you race it, the more its traits get revealed. And so, understanding what your giggling is good at, picking the right giggling for the right race. Then we're working on breeding. Should be launched soon. When that's live, that introduces like another layer of sort of game theory where you need to like, we're also trying to predict which gigglings are best to kind of mate together to get your desired traits.
The whole meta game of all of that.
Like mutations and like interesting things that come out of that as well. So I mean, giggling racing right now is getting like a lot of our. It's brand new, right? We launched it literally six days ago.
Okay.
So we've launched I think 2 or 3 big updates since, like a lot of quality of life stuff, some balance passes. We have like it's the first game mode that has like fully integrated chat across all the different, like at a lobby level, at a global level, which is useful for where we're going later. We're going to have that across the game.
Nice.
So giggling racing right now is like the latest fun thing. It's doing like at this point, I think we've already had 6,500 races in 6 days. So that's really cool to see. We took a different approach on this. Like we wanted to put like a lot of this on chain for the reason that's coming up right now. Like we're about to announce and reveal details for our first hackathon. So we want to make it really easy for like builders to create cool stuff on top of this. And at the end of the day, the assets, the gigglings themselves are NFTs, right? So it makes sense to go more on chain. Yeah, here on chain by design.
Do NFT holders like what would you call the Genesis collection of the project? Do the GLF H heifers have utility by holding them?
No,
In Gigaverse?
GLHFers. Oh yeah, we consider like GLHF and ROMs, let's say like equally important, right? These are like two very important but like different collections. GLHF is our Genesis, and it's a culture collection. So like first and foremost, it's like this is aligning with the visual identity of our ecosystem, and then like ROMs are just like this was the let's say the Genesis, or like the founding sort of like the most important asset of
the Gigaverse universe.
Gigaverse as our first game, as our OG game.
I asked the question because sorry, go ahead. I thought you were.
And then Giglings are like a collection as well, but they're just very much like focused on like this very, very specific game utility for a Gigling. The one which I think is going to change most in future is like, ROM started very much as just like a utility collection, like, they give you a bit of energy, they give you some like rare resources and stuff. But I think that's been the wrong framing for them. And really we see them as having like, I wouldn't say necessarily a cultural role, but definitely like an ecosystem alignment role in the future of the game.
Nice. So the reason why I asked that was like two-pronged. I think it's also, first of all, because I wanted to address more like what I think everybody in crypto gaming is like very burnt by buying NFTs in games, etc. So now it's sad because the games that are left are probably the ones most deserving of support, but everyone is broke AF. So it's people like, so it's, I think it's important to properly present to people if they want exposure to an ecosystem and speculate, just to show them the different tiers. But also I asked them because I see a lot of these. I did a bit of research and I saw there was not much utility of the GLHFers. So I was wondering why everyone in chat had a GLF. I noticed all you guys in chat asking questions. So and about so there's it's the cultural thing, right? People are using it as a PFP as their in your ecosystem. By the way, sorry, I said everyone. I'm not ignoring them, but there's a few people in chat of. It's not just Ronin people. There's also people from your community, and they're begging for more alpha. So, don't just talk to the newcomers. Give them a few treats.
So I think, I think GLHF always first and foremost, as I say, it was like the visual identifier of the ecosystem, right? And then I think with ROMs very much started as like a utility collection and are over time like kind of evolving to something more, something else. I think utility is always the issue in gaming, as you well know, is good games take time to build, right? And I also think like if the framing of a really important asset is just utility alone, then there's always inherently like a ceiling, right? People are just way too mathematical about it. And I actually think like all of our objective comes like, it's very, very simple, right? At the end of the day, we want to build the biggest and most meaningful company and ecosystem that we can. And if we do that, like we see these, like this early community that we have and these early people that are like on board and supporting and advocating and evangelizing as these are like our early backers and early believers, right? And I think like the whole reason that you do this and you even build in this space is because of the power of that. And so recognizing that support and belief is very, very important, and having people kind of be very aligned with you through that journey and be brought along for the ride is very, very important, right? So I think for both GLHFers and ROMs, we see that in the same way. And we've been deep in build mode and a lot of this stuff. So that doesn't get spoken a whole lot about, but it should be. And I think it will be in the future. So yeah, I mean, I think people obviously love to hear about the role that these things play and the importance that they play. And I think, stay tuned on that front.
I feel like there was one or two bits there for the seasoned community members. They heard what they needed to. Okay. I have a question for you, a bit more general, about like, what would you say was the biggest obstacle you personally or you as your team has faced since you started building the Gigaverse? What sticks out as like massive obstacle that maybe you almost didn't expect to get over?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if there's a single like thing that.
Okay, list all 5 of them then.
Yeah. There's a lot of. There's always this. I think the prioritization challenge again. Like when things are working, suddenly you have this like good problem to have, where it's like, oh, we want to do a ton of stuff like all at once, and you just can't. Like, it's got to be like, there's always a trade-off. It's one thing or another. I think the big elephant in the room is like my take on, like, ultimately, if you want coming back to this objective, you want to build the biggest, most meaningful company that you can. I don't think you can do that with like an on-chain, like a single on-chain game alone. Like, it's a great place to start. An amazing wedge. You build this like awesome evangelical community. You can generate a bunch of revenue, yes. But if you're thinking about like how, if these games are form factors for people to risk or earn or own or any combination thereof, like we're literally competing against prediction markets, perps, meme coins, all these other form factors, which, face it, can give you like, some of these form factors give you like 1,000x in hours. And really, like, where does my love and admiration for like the Ronin and Axie ecosystem come from is like, really the only time in history that sort of thing has existed is with Axie. Everyone else has been like, okay, maybe it's happened for like a couple days or a week or something, ran for like a month or two, but like Axie was really the one that made everyone believe and see like these kind of crazy, like super life-changing. I mean, tens of thousands of people had their lives changed forever, right, due to what Axie did. But for everyone else, like, where we stand today, the thing that you have to rationalize is like, it's probably quite unlikely that like like an on-chain game becomes like bigger than Hyperliquid, right? So the hard question every team has to ask themselves, like, okay, so where do we go from here? If the objective is to build a big and meaningful company and ecosystem, then where do you go from there? So we spend a lot of time, like, part of why you see us doing all this work on the IP growth side and really caring about our characters and our channels. Look, Pokemon's like $150 billion character franchise, right? Which has a surface area of products and experiences that people can enjoy all around the world, and that's generational, right? You have like 3 or 5 year olds knowing who the characters are. You have 30, 35 year olds collecting the super valuable rare cards. So you got to think bigger, and you got to push yourselves out of your comfort zone, and you essentially need to, if we're able to do this, like, we're transforming, like, we're challenging all prior assumptions. We're completely transforming the business that we're actually building, and that stuff is hard, and it takes time, and it's a big bet, and you can't like, again, Pokemon example, that's 3 decades in the making, right? So these are very real challenges and obstacles, but it all comes back to like, what is your aspiration and ambition, right? I think if a game simply wants to build like a fun niche on-chain game that makes a little bit of money, entertains the community for a few months, you can do that, but that doesn't really interest us. We definitely see enough potential in ourselves and in our community and in our IP to strive for something much bigger and larger and more everlasting.
Well, perfect. Thank you for that. Usually what happens, so because we're way past the hour now, or like we're past the hour now, so we're gonna wrap it up. But usually we have to like prompt the guest about, like, say, oh, what would your last words be? Like, prompt a mini amazing.
I think that was it.
Exactly. Usually we have to prompt an inspiring mini monologue, but we just got it unprompted here. So I think we could talk about a lot more things, but I think let's just leave those questions for a potential next time you're on. Just to give you extra incentive to build more on, or like build towards Ronin rapidly, so we can all quench our thirst. And so I'll just say it was a great pleasure to get to meet you. I think
same, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Were quite interesting, and I look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Same. Thanks for having us on.
Love it.
Thank you, Dith.
Appreciate you, boys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So,
Mr. Stark, that was a lot. That was a lot. At the same time, I love his energy. I love how
I've never heard him speak, but so I was quickly intrigued by Gigaverse when I did a bit of research, and like different things stuck out. For example, they don't have a token yet, We didn't talk about that. There's so many other things I wanted to talk about. They don't have a token yet, so it's like they're very purposeful in their decisions. For example, viewing their NFT collections or NFT mints, they view it as a debt to their community, and so they're purposeful, as in like they won't launch a token unless it's needed, and stuff like that. There's just a lot of green flags when I was doing my research. On top of the most obvious green flag, which is if you're still around, that's a massive green flag. If you're not defunct yet, that's the advantage.
If you're still here in June 2026, you're probably a green flag.
So yeah, and yeah, there's different things. We'll have to. I mean, the writing is on the wall, right? Or if you could read between the lines, I think we know what will be announced in the near future when they come on again or stuff like that. I personally might be speculating on certain things, or at least be starting to watch certain collections, and we'll see. And
for those that don't know Stark, for those that are new here, don't know Stark, he's probably, while we are doing the show, probably sweeping the floor. So yeah,
I'm not sweeping. I'm not, if this was on Ronin, if this was on Ronin, I would have already bought some. But second of all, I'm kind of broke at the moment, and third of all, it's not on Ronin, so I need to do a bit more. I did do a bit more research. But I'm literally looking at GLHFers since the start of the show. I've been like going through them, looking at the trades.
How much is it looking right now? Because I wanna after 24
so
hours.
The floor is 0.13 ETH, but you can also I think what was it? I usually, that's why I was asking those questions about the utility, etc. I think it's important to inform our audiences about, like, if they wanted to, like, the most optimal way, because that's how I think. So I assume that there's like value in sharing that. What's the most optimal way to get some exposure if you want to? And it could be for different budgets, for different wallets. I think here, if you're on Ronin and you've heard of this before, but you like what you heard today, I think you can only play by putting down 20. It's $8 now if you pay an ETH. So you have to get some ETH on Abstract. That's quite a bit of friction. But
I mean, there are like ways to bridge in, right? But
also you can join. Probably, I would just say follow their Twitter page, follow them on YouTube, watch the content we were showing you at the start of the show, their little fun shorts. Probably join their Discord, ask them questions. Like, these are ways you can start doing your own research without putting any money down. Join the Discord, follow the updates, chat with the people, and get your idea there somewhere. And then $8 to start messing around in the game. But see, Lemake says it's 1 minute bridge, super easy. It's the thing is, if people don't bridge, like we have this, everyone's just too married to their chains. But you're right, it's super easy. It is very easy. That
was really
So I was excited to have them on the show. I didn't expect Diff to be that, like, I think he's very good at expressing his ideas. So not only I was already excited because they built an interesting product, and I think you can tell, like, you can tell by researching a little bit that they're purposeful in certain decisions. They even use the word purposeful at times when talking about YouTube, etc. But even, like, if a team has been around for 3 years and doesn't have a token, they're, like, it's the crazy ones that haven't launched a token yet, right? Actually, it's probably everyone who has launched a token, the project is dead. So it's all of that is purposeful.
The decent ones. Yeah. It's the honorable ones.
It's the honorable ones, exactly. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what follows. I didn't expect also him to be. I thought we were gonna have to tease a bit and have him pull out more stuff about Ronin.
No, he was just all over. He was just giving it all to us. Like,
yeah,
it was amazing. It was amazing. It was lovely speaking with Deeth. The community showing up as well. From GIGAVERSE in the chat.
We were. I was not saying you guys all your questions. That's why I made sure he tried to drop a bit of alpha. I hope you guys got your specialized alpha. And yeah, for anyone on Ronin who's heard about this for the first time, you can check out the website. As I said, to play, you need to mint your character for $8. If you don't want to do that at first, because I know we're all broke as fuck, you can. I would
swipe
just
your card.
Discord.
And be broke some more.
Let's go into debt. No, join the Discord, follow their Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube, and see if you like more of what you see. And yeah, it was a good show.
All right. Well, that is the show for tonight,
see how
ladies and
easy
gentlemen.
it is
Thank
to
you
have
so much for coming in.
See how
Folks from
easy it is to
GIGAVERSE,
have a good
folks
show
from
when-
Ronin.
Oh,
Love
sorry.
it. Yeah, go ahead, Sark.
No, sorry, you were cutting out, so I thought you were done talking, but I could see your mouth moving. My internet was. So I was just going to say, see how easy it is to have a great show when you have a great guest. Luckily, we've had a lot of great guests on lately. We need to keep that up.
Yeah. More of that coming in. I mean, I think this space is being filtered out, Mr. Stark. Like, there's a lot of, the 93% are going away. So we have potentially guests that are more high quality than the 93%
Well, any
that are
guest
going.
that's still around, it's like any community member. Like any chatter is high quality. It's not none of these 2021 bums who are gone because they now the guys who are here are not here just for the money. They're here for the love of the game.
Believing in what Web3 can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Harambe says anyone who wants a walkthrough or has questions can join our Discord, and the community and the team will walk you through. That's what Harambe did for me. That's how I was able to do a bit of research for the show. So you don't even need you don't if you want to walk through. I think others will do. You just hop on the call. They'll share their screen and they can just walk around. Basically, show you that experience you get from that $8 mint and what you can expect to see, because you can't. There's no free to play mode where you can walk around. You have to pass the front door, you have to pay $8. But I'm sure that, as he says, him or different community members will help you get a peek if you're hesitant to put down the dosh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm gonna do after this. I am going to go ahead and send some money to my abstract wallet and mint a Gigaverse. So good luck.
The noob, yeah.
Giga Noob is gonna be in that server soon. All right. Well, thank you so much again for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Galak together with my lovely co-host, Mr. Stark. And this has been the Ronin Radio. See you again on next Thursday if we're still alive and we are still breathing and BTC is not shrinking down the drain.
No, whatever happens, we'll still be here next week.
All right. We'll still be here.
Rain, hail, or shine. See you guys.
All right. See ya.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Not a chance that I can't hear any of you fuckers right now, and you actually are.
Oh, shit! Fuck!